All right. So I want to wrap up by asking you what your thoughts are for predictions for 2025. For
Oh my
me, I will
God.
say
Go
I've
ahead.
noticed that I think this year is going to be a year of comebacks. I only have started to notice this though, because I mean, we're having a lot of problems. There's going to be a lot of violence. There's going to be a lot of like stress. But people that were canceled or had a very difficult time in the last couple of years, I'm talking about Army Hammer.
Oh, yeah.
People like this, all of a sudden you see Rolling Stone magazine just came out with something about him now. He's openly talking about
I
that
love him.
statement
I
and
listened
what
to his
happened.
show. It's
Yeah.
great.
Oh, great. So by the way, I've always been on his side. I mean, he
Yeah, me
got
too.
ruined for something that may have been a fetish. It's not like he acted on it. He's not a cannibal. And so I never understood why these girls got to come out, publish things that were intimate and private and sexual, whatever. It's not like he ate anybody. So I
No,
really didn't understand why this was so terrible.
because
I mean,
the Me Too movement had just had a remarkable run, and they were trying to wrap up any guy and a lot of women out there who had some enterprising ideas thought, hey, I dated him. He was kind of weird. I could say some
mhm,
stories, but maybe get a payday. But I'll tell you, I remember when I first got divorced in the early, when was I? 1991, right?
mm,
And I met this first girlfriend from Staten Island, a really tough Italian chick, sexy as all get out. And she would say things to me, and I would say things back to her in kind of like that. I would say, like, God, I want to fucking, you're so fucking hot, I want to choke you. Like stupid shit that if you hear that in the bedroom, you and the person get it.
right.
But if you can't just read that statement in someone else's voice and not hear what the other person said in the bedroom. So if Army Hammer said, "Oh God, I want to eat you,"
Right.
I looked at it and said, "Yeah, I said stupid shit." Tom Segura and his wife, who have a great podcast, she admitted that Tom has said to her, "You're so beautiful. I want to throw your head into the dresser. I can't take
Right.
how beautiful you look." Yes, it sounds weird, but bedroom talk is different for everybody.
Right.
Army Hammer, gorgeous guy, brought up with come on, the money for decades, for
Mhm,
generations.
mhm.
Yeah, of course he can get what he wants. Happens to be very handsome, very talented. So they went to take him down. He was an easy target, and he was a fool. He cheated on his wife. He became a cad. It was easy to hate him.
Right.
But you know what? He's got 5 projects in development now. He leaves for Croatia next week, Philippines in the spring. The guy's got no agent, but has a lawyer. And somehow people have gotten in touch with him through Instagram to put him in movies. So he's coming back, and he will
Yeah.
be a comeback. And I'm glad he will be. I just think that, and I hope I see some comebacks. I do. But I think that 2024, like Cat Williams said on the Club Shay Shay podcast, is the year of the truth. And a lot of things that he said since then have come to fruition. And 2025 is just beginning, and everything from 2024 is rolling over. And there's going to be a lot more truths coming out because I think we need it, because there's so many people who've just been lied to. We've
Mhm,
all been lied to for years about
mhm.
things. You look at the UFOs now and all this shit going on. How did they not know? The guy was making ISIS videos hours before the New Orleans tragedy. The FBI saw it, and there was nothing they could do hours ahead of time. We've been lied to and fucked with for so long that
Mhm.
all these truths have to come out. The people who lied, I don't want to get political, but all the people who said some awful lies about Trump, Russian disinformation, they've got to be prosecuted or dragged through the street and shown to be the bullshit artists they were. And of course, Hollywood's not as important, but yeah, I'm glad. I think a lot's going to come to light, and we're going to be shocked. And finally, we're going to realize, like we've already started to, that Hollywood and the people there and the things they say and the people they promote doesn't mean shit.
Right.
We're
So the people
smarter than
that
they
have been
are.
held on a pedestal for decades, if not just years, are not those stories are not true necessarily.
No,
And I
they,
love how you coined it the year of the truth. I think that's really important. A lot of people's stories need to be reconsidered and seen in a new light.
you know
Um,
when you wear a nice outfit and someone tells you your slip is showing. It's an old
yeah,
phrase.
okay.
Hollywood slip is showing. They don't realize how foolish they've looked. And now it's all going to come out about the lies and the bullshit artists. And you know,
Right.
it's all starting to come out, which we
One
need.
one other area I saw this, People Magazine, I think was the first to start the year off on this notion of the year of the truth. They had their cover stories, The Curious Case of Natalia Grace. It's a story a couple of years
Oh,
ago, came to light where we all heard a little rumblings about this girl who was of Russian descent. She was an orphan. She was adopted, and her adoptive parents said she was a complete psycho. I mean, I'm using
yeah.
their words, they're not mine. And ID shared her story a couple of years ago. They're doing part 2. It comes out January 6th and January 7th about what really happened to her in her own words. And it's very fascinating. Was she
Yeah.
that? Was she a girl? Was she an 8-year-old girl who was completely left alone and abused? Or was she an adult feigning that she was a child and she was,
Yeah.
using it for nefarious reasons? So
It's
it'll
the
be very
it's
interesting to
it's
hear
the
her story.
craziest story. And I remember when it happened, I had COVID and I was like having fever dreams and it was a bad time. And I remember reading that story or hearing about it and going, this is the most frightening thing in the world. It reminds me when people go to a foreign country and think they're taking back a puppy, but when they get home, they realize it's like a big rat from some part
Right.
of the world, and they smuggle it on the airplane. This is like you wake up and Chucky is in your house,
Hmm.
and I do a poker show in Vegas with Jennifer Tilly, who's a poker player.
Hmm.
And of course, she was in the Bride of Chucky movies. And we laughed about this, saying this Natalia Grace is like living with Chucky. This little midget, dwarf, whatever, grown person. It is the scariest story. And I can't wait to see it it's on Discovery, right? ID?
It's on ID. Yeah.
Yeah, in the next few days. Yeah, it's a fascinating story. I mean, first of all, it's even stories in there about her having sex with a regular sized man. It's so
With her
sordid.
adopted
Her
father, I think
adoptive
is what she,
father.
yeah,
If you
is what
ever
she
been
claimed.
turned, I mean, look, I don't, you got to have some kink in you if you're turned on by a little person. It's just I can't even imagine it. I talk about curves. I can't even get into it.
Oh my God.
That's
Wait a minute.
all.
Speaking of adopted fathers and children, how did Woody Allen get through this unscathed for so long? People still
Well,
love him, right? Or is he's out of
well,
it?
I covered that extensively. I was sent up to Bedford Falls and try to find Sun Yi when it all came to fruition. I was working at
Mhm.
New York Newsday, and I infiltrated the dorm room and went to the house where Mia Farrow and her adoptive father lived. The conductor, I forget his name now, but anyhow, look, I love Woody Allen's movies. I grew up on them. He's a genius.
I love them too.
And I was in New York, and I was at all the New York Knicks games, and Woody Allen goes to every game with Sun Yi. It's over 30 years. Obviously, they have such true love, these two, that if you're still angry, I'm not. And I watched all the documentaries, and I know Ronan Farrow, and I saw everything, and I'm sorry, I don't think their stories hold up. I think they look. He definitely had an unnatural attraction to a younger girl that really was never with him. She was with Mia Farrow all the time. She didn't live with Woody. I know it's weird, and the Polaroids are fucking disgusting. But Sun Yi loved the attention he gave her because Mia didn't like her, apparently. It's such a deep story. But the little girl who told stories about the train tracks up in the attic, and
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
doesn't work with me. It all fell apart during that documentary. So I
Right.
have nothing against Woody Allen. The guy's, what is he, 85 now? He doesn't make good movies anymore. But Woody Allen, I like the fact that he said, I'm a real New Yorker. I mean, Woody Allen was getting just hounded. And he's going to leave New York. He's not going to go to the Knicks games. He said, no, it's my city. I'm not going anywhere. I
Right.
loved him for that. And we hounded him for years, and he stuck around. He stuck it out. And in the end, he wins. And his book was great. If you ever get a chance to peruse his book
Okay.
from a
No, I
couple of
haven't.
years
Yeah.
ago, it's great.
It's interesting. Now that you're talking, I'm almost thinking that 2025 into 26 may end up being the year of the man. Because,
Ooh.
I mean, we just saw like Luigi, this guy who
Oh,
goes and
God.
kills somebody, the United Healthcare CEO, and people are, making him into a hero. Obviously because of people's beliefs, but a lot because people are obsessed with the way he looks. So, and
I
now,
know.
and then it started, I think, with Johnny Depp. The tide was changing a little bit where people no longer were siding with the woman. So
Yeah.
it is very interesting, and there's a
It's
lot of
high.
movement.
It's high time that happens. Obviously, Johnny didn't do the shit Luigi did. I don't consider Luigi a hero. I can't stand that he's Italian. But look,
Mhm.
we talked about sex before and how men are. understand this whole thing happened because he had very bad back surgery. And because of that back surgery, apparently he couldn't get it up. Sex was not enjoyable. That drove him bananas. And that's the core reason why he did what he did. I know he's brilliant and said a lot of things in his writings, but that's at the core of this. And I think that I'm going to wrap this up by saying the year of the truth, 2024. I coined an expression that I think this year is going to be Carmageddon. I think a lot of people are going to get the karma they've deserved for a long time. It's already happening in dribs and drabs, but I think that's what's going to wash over the next year or so. And we're going to really feel more clean when we think and talk about Hollywood than we ever were in the past.
I love that. I hope that does happen. And we'll have to revisit this mid-year to see how it's going.
Yes, we will.
All right, AJ, always a great time having you. Love you so much.
You're going to run away and get married now? You're going to elope? What are you going to do?
I don't know. We'll have to see. You'll have to check it.
Oh, my goodness.
When do I get to come on your show?
Oh, you know what? Let's do that.
We should do that.
Let's do it now.
Oh, wait. And before we go, I was actually telling AJ about some people that I have on my show next week. And I brought up, I'm going to be interviewing Anthony Weiner. I have him coming on the 8th because I wanted to get his view after January 6th happens and like a whole year in review, but also obviously hear about his scandal. You know what's interesting about Anthony Weiner? He was so good at what he did. I thought he would have been a brilliant politician.
Yep.
And he just screwed it up because he was terrible at relationships and he had a sex problem. But you know what's interesting about him? He is somebody who ruined his life and his career and his personal life with his wife over women he never touched.
I know.
Did you ever realize that?
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
He never met any of these women.
I'll tell you, when I was dating, I ran into a problem, and I think a lot of men do, because social media, and back when he did it, it was in its infant stages. Now, there were just so many images, not to mention OnlyFans, which I don't subscribe to, but there's so many areas where a man can have company or see sexy women and get the kind of talk in their ear that they don't get at home, whatever. Women can do it too, but I think it's more prevalent for men. And it's really interesting. Yeah, he never even touched the women, but you just wonder, I'm not saying he's right, but was there anything lacking in that relationship that he had to seek out attention from strangers? Is Uma Abedin a cold woman? I don't know. I'm not saying she did anything wrong, but every relationship is different. He had it. I'm not even a Democrat, and I would have voted for that guy in New York. He was that good. You know?
Well, I'm interested to hear what he's up to. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
he has a podcast on WABC.
He can come back. He's on radio.
Yeah.
You know what? I just finally started doing my show on a different platform. So now I can have people on the show. And I had someone on last week, and I'm going to have you definitely next. Let's figure it out. We just talked about a bunch of stuff. So we'll talk during the week and we'll figure out a date. But yeah, I'll definitely have you on. It'll be a lot of fun.
Perfect. AJ, it's always a pleasure. Tell people where they can listen to your shows. You have a bunch of them.
I have a bunch of shows. My main show is Fame is a Bitch. Unfortunately, it's no longer free. It's behind a Patreon wall, a paywall, but it's patreon.com/Fame is a Bitch. Everything is a Bitch is free. So is Relationships is a Bitch is free. And Politics is a Bitch is also behind a paywall. But I'm at it about 8 years. And I'm not slowing down. I still got a lot more to say. So I know you did too, so let's hope this keeps going on, man.
And can people find you on Instagram? Do you?
Yeah, I don't really do. I mean, I post pictures of family and dogs. I don't really do anything crazy on Twitter.
Okay, so if people want to hear your opinions, they got to be listening to your podcast.
Or you know what? You can even I get back to anybody. Anybody can email me at popebenza@gmail.com. I never not respond to anybody who talks to me or asks me a question or what have you. So I'm always there if you want to hear anything or ask a question. I'm right there.
AJ has the best insight and opinions and gossip. So
I love talking to you. I feel like I'm at the Beverly Hills Hotel with your background.
I know.
I love it. Or Indochine in New York City. Either way, I'm happy.
Right. Exactly.
I love it.
All right. Well, I love you, and we will talk soon.
Love you too. See you, sweetheart. Bye, baby.